Check 1, 2. All right, gang, good job sticking around here. We have a quorum, right, Keith? We have enough for what we... I counted more than that. So, all right. Way to get your treats and get back in here. Thanks to Kathy and Cindy for providing the treats, and thank you guys for being willing to be here and for taking care in our community of faith. So, John, rock and roll. Oh, by the way, if you do speak, we're live streaming for those that are on. Please come to the microphone, or I can try to reach it to you if you don't want to come all the way up.
Or the person up here can repeat the question if necessary. All right, I do believe we have a quorum, which is required of 39 people. We have more than that here. I'm going to appoint a treasurer of Marcy Toporski and a secretary. What did I say? Sorry. I can't make those kind of decisions. Secretary, sorry, and a parliamentarian, I said it wrong, of Keith Anderson. So, seeing that we have a quorum, I want to call to order the special congregational meeting for the purpose to inform the congregation of the roof of the church and the MCC and the planned project to repair the roof.
So I make a motion to approve the MCC and the church building.
Okay, do I have a second on that? Heather Morgan is second. Before we open this motion up for discussion, I want to recognize Paul Umler, co-chair of the Property and Building Committee, to inform you of what the situation is. Paul? Oh, Dan too. I'm sorry, I didn't see Dan.
Most everybody can probably hear me loud enough, I would guess.
Do it anyway, Paul. Do it anyway.
Okay. So I'm Paul Umler. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm sure you all know me already. Just to explain how we've worked this a little bit, Dan and I are like oil and water when it comes to personalities and strengths and weaknesses. So Dan is the organized one. Dan is the one that's going to explain a lot more in detail a little bit. I'm going to try to repeat questions for people in the virtual crowd, and then field any questions that maybe Dan doesn't have, but Dan's got more of the details.
Yeah, we'll figure it out as we go. Thanks for coming this morning. Paul and I have taken on the role of the Building and Grounds Committee as of February, I believe it was, and one of the biggest projects that we found on our to-do list was obviously the roof, which we're all here about. We have taken a look around the building. I've climbed up on top of the roof. This roof on this building is in really bad shape, in my opinion. The MCC needs work. There's no doubt about it. We are proposing that we do both roofs at once and be done with this for a while, hopefully.
Yeah, so from my understanding, this is still the original roof on the MCC over there, 16 years old. There's a few reasons why that roof has got some problems going on with it and some continuing issues. From my understanding here from the previous members, this is only the second roof that's been on this building here, and it's more than in question right now. I mean, when Dan was up there with the one of the roofers that we talked to, for anybody who understands roofs, every little peak and valley and everything up there has to be flashed perfectly, and everything needs to be done better than what you could ever imagine for it to be adequate, right? Well, that's not been the case for the past, I think, 4 or 5 years from what Luciano has said. Luciano spends, I would say, a day every other week up there, caulking, flashing, and trying to patch the roof, and he spends an absorbent amount of his time just up there repairing this roof, which is fine, but it's getting to be quite excessive. And like Dan said, when we jumped into this, we had no idea what we were getting into, and everybody is kind of probably chuckling right now saying, look at them suckers. They really got a deal here. So we started in on this, not knowing what we were doing. And when Luciano first toured us around the facility, the water that was water spots in these ceiling tiles and the water that actually come into some of the building here it's quite concerning, I would say, to say the least, as far as how bad it is.
Yeah,
So,
it's not a problem area, it's problem areas on either end of the building. So it's how many Band-Aids do we put on a roof that's this big is, I mean, you run out of Band-Aids. So, yeah, when we were up there with the roofer, the condition of the shingles, he wanted to just peel back a little bit to see, and he's like, these things are so bad, I don't even want to do that because they'll just disintegrate right now. So, back to the whole point that this roof is shot, in our opinion. The MCC building, as I said earlier, it's not quite the condition that this building is. However, a 16-year-old roof is not a roof we should be talking about right now, and yet we are. When that job was done 16 years ago, come to find out, there was defects in those shingles. And basically the way that is described to me is when they go through the process of building these shingles, they go through the process of where the tar meets the asphalt. And they go through these rollers, and as these rollers are going through, if they run out of the asphalt, sometimes there's these smooth spots that wear off. Well, 16 years later, you climb up there in the middle of these shingles, you can see the diagonal roll where they went through the factory, and the roofer said this is something that he's seen often enough where a roofing company will buy these from the manufacturer as seconds to cut their costs down and to be competitive with other bids. Well, unfortunately, that means you have a less life to that roof. So that's kind of the condition of that building over there.
So
Yeah, we were going to pursue that.
So the question was the warranty. Is there any warranty on a 16-year-old roof on the MCC building? Right. Typically, they're warranted for that long.
Right.
Agreed.
So from our understanding, you can pursue that, but they don't give the warranty, they don't back that up with these seconds. And after 16 years, it's long enough in their lifetime that they're just going to say it is what it is. I mean, if it was 2 or 3 years after, installation, we might have a better point. We're kind of running out of a little bit too far gone.
Long story short, it sounds like that will be an uphill battle if we try to. We view that from our advice from everybody else in the industry, the construction industry, is it's not worth fighting that fight for the measly money that you'll probably get out of it.
Another thing that we looked into is sometimes these roofs you can file an insurance claim from a wind event or any weather event. And there is enough work up there that we could pursue that. However, when I talked to our building insurance, they said that it has to come from a certain specific weather event that this happens. Luciano's been patching these in over the years, and so it's really hard to pinpoint a certain event. There is wind damage on the MCC. That southwest side of the building catches a lot of wind, and there is some repair to be done that we did initially hold off, told Luciano to not repair that for a minute. Let's just see if this insurance is an option. And long story short, we can do that, but if the claim does not go through, we risk our premiums to go up. So we're not sure about running down that road either right now.
So you don't think it's worth it?
Yes, can we just let them finish explaining it before we open it up to questions, please?
Great idea. We'll try to make it quick. Dan and I are both a little long-winded when it comes to this, and we're all
Kinda like Jeff.
Him and I are very versed in this. This has been over a full month now that we've been working on this, so kind of passionate about it now. But So let's move forward a little bit on where Pastor was last fall and how we came to the conclusion of where we're at now. Premier.
So before Paul and I joined the council, Pastor actually pursued this last fall, and he got a few different quotes from different roofing companies out there. And the one that he kind of recommended over all the others is the one that we've been dealing the most with in the recent months. Basically, trying to narrow this down where the cost is a big number, no matter how you look at it. And we are going to be very cognizant of that, but we also need this job to be done right. And, you know, to Gail's point, a 30-year warranty is something that we need to pursue, and this is what is in the cards with this company. They are big enough, in our opinion, that they can handle a job that's this big, because this is no small task with a building like this and all the peaks and valleys. The cupolas are another thing that are going to be a part of the deal that we have to navigate around, securing the steeple that it shifts in the wind, come to find out. So there's a few issues up there that we're going to have to tackle. What else?
So yeah, so after Pastor gave us his 3 quotes from last fall, we looked at them, reviewed them, updated them, and came to the conclusion that this is the company we want to do. Premier Roofing is the one that we decided on, and that's the one we're moving forward with right now. That's the one that we will reference the quote up here on. We're very comfortable with the expertise of this company. They're recommended from, I mean, Pastor loved them. I know people that have done construction on commercial buildings. And then actually a church that Dan and I know very well, St. Joe's down in Wright, used them to re-roof their building, their church, just a couple years ago. So highly recommended, and will not cut corners, will not cheapen out on any of the product or the that's provided. So we're very comfortable with that. I guess, Deb, do you want to throw that up now, and we will dive down deep into the actual quote? Let's get down to the meat and potatoes of some of this.
I guess before we dive into that, one other thing that I want to add is the urgency that we are under right now.
True.
So, it is toward the end of May, and we don't feel like we want to go through another winter if we can avoid it with this roof. And so, in order to make a decision and actually follow through and get the job done, we're already pushing the limit as far as what the season will have left when it's all said and done. There's a lot of jobs in front of this company right now, and he promised us that this would be done this season if we can get an answer soon enough. In addition to that, the costs continue to keep rising. In today's day and age, everybody knows what this story entails with that. But last year, unfortunately, when Pastor Mike did the initial bid, the costs have gone up substantially, and they have, actually I talked to the roofer yesterday, and he just caught wind that there's another price increase coming on the 1st of June, which it just keeps adding more and more urgency to get this done on top of the condition of the roof itself. So that's part of the reason why we're kind of scrambling here in the last few weeks to make a decision and come up with an answer for that. So. All right, so here's the numbers that you see on the screen. The bid that we had updated 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that we're covered under at this point. I got 2 different numbers. There's 2 different shingle manufacturers that he recommended. Both of them are premium shingles, not the low tier ones. He has gone through the Atlas shingles are the ones that he has done more in the past. He said the Certainteed is another manufacturer that is making gains on the quality that the Atlas is, and in fact, he said this Certainteed is also giving a 30-year warranty under all of their shingles, and he's starting to shift more to that. Apparently they're premium quality. So that's the numbers for the church and the MCC. In addition to that, yes, I can. So what we were quoted with the CertainTeed shingles is $70,120 for this building. That includes labor and the materials for doing so. The MCC is an additional $54,400. So that equates to $520,000 for material and labor for both buildings. In addition to that, all of the fascia on this building is still wood. Luciano keeps painting it every other year or whatever it turns into. Maybe, I don't know how often he said he does it, but.
Been 5 years since he done it this time.
Okay.
Yep.
But, long story short, wood is going to continue to need upkeep, and we feel like we might as well entertain the thought of doing put aluminum wrapping over it so we can preserve it and not have to continue maintenance of it. The cupolas are another wild card that is not factored into the numbers that were given in the estimate or the bid. We don't know, so everything else that's on this sheet here is basically the unknowns. We do not know what we're going to get into once we start peeling the roof apart. When there's water damage inside the building, we can only imagine what's in between the top of the roof and in between. So with that being said, there's a few things we got to factor in here and assume the worst. So when we put these numbers up, these are assumptions that this is worst case scenario, hopefully.
Very high-end assumptions on all three of these next rows here.
Yes. So the cupolas, as we said, there's a few of them on this church. The one is on the steeple, and then on the far side, on the west side, there is a cupola that is actually wrapping over speakers for the bells. And both of them are still made out of wood, still being painted.
And not fastened to the roof very well either.
No.
Come to find out, if you've ever been out there when it's windy, you can watch both of them move. So, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. I'm not really a construction guy. So we don't know what we're going to uncover. I mean, to all of Dan's points here, we don't know what we're going to uncover. So we're trying to do our best to get as much of the background information for all of these. And when Dan was up there with the roofer, I mean, they tried to intimately look at them, but like he said, you can't peel back broken shingles piece by piece to try to get down and dig into it. So we don't know where we're going to get, and that's the same is going to be true. The AC units is probably going to be more of a constant cost. That's a pretty easy thing. He's done it plenty of times. You pop them out, reflash it when you re-roof it, and put them back in. Won't be that big of a deal.
He did ask that we would get a company, heating and cooling company, to move them, so because they didn't want the responsibility if anything broke during that process with some of the conduit.
The last row there is just the unforeseen cost of how much OSB, when he takes the shingles off and gets a look at how much of this sub roof, how much of that is rotten, just maybe compromised to any extent. I mean, you guys have done this on your homes and your buildings that you own, on your farms or whatever it is as well, your businesses. When you get the roof off, you're not gonna question putting new flooring or new decking down. So we factored in another $20,000 because everybody knows what 4x8 sheets of OSB go right now. So this is, once again, we're throwing a stab at it based upon what we've looked at with the roofer when we get up there. We believe that these numbers will come in quite a bit lower, but we can't present to you a number that's what we view as more realistic, unfortunately. And maybe I shouldn't say that, Keith, but we have to kind of shoot high because we don't know where it's going to come in. So hopefully everybody understands that.
Right.
So the motion is to approve the congregational expenditure of the $175,000 that is shown on the screen right now. That is our top point that we will reach when it comes to both roofing projects and all of the unforeseen things that may come up during this project. And that includes the flashing, surfacing all the fascia and everything like that. And that's the question.
Hang on a minute, Gail.
Yeah. So I want to go on the next topic that we need to talk about, because I think everybody's got a lot of questions. Hopefully you're writing them down. The next topic I want to talk about would be some of the finance piece of this. So like Dan said, there's a lot of deadlines coming from the construction side of this and from our internal side of this, you know, to get it approved by the congregation and things like that. So what Premier Roofing had talked about is if we could get them a certain percentage, and $50,000 is that number. If we could get them $50,000, they could confirm a date for us, get us on the calendar at least for early fall, and we could be, you know, at least moving forward with the project.
Lock in the building cost.
Yep,
in this place.
all of that, which is a very important piece. So getting to that $50,000 was the biggest hurdle that we knew we were going to probably get to. Well, that's what we thought at that time. So we have already got to that place already. So there was an anonymous donor into the church last year, I believe. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Last year of $60,000. Of that 60, we are allocated. The family that donated that is allocating 40,000 of that to this project, based on their will. So they said that's what we want to do to get jump started. We have another $8,000 in the Moving Mamrelund Forward Fund. That is our plan to use that. And then we also have another anonymous donor that donated another $2,000. What does that all equal? Exactly $50,000. Weird how that works some days, right? So that is part of this motion to approve that we can move forward with that, use that $50,000 to at least lock all this stuff in, the times, the dates, the pricing. And then from there, there's a few different, we want to talk maybe a little bit about the 4 different finance pieces and how we will get to the final result.
Yeah, so first and foremost, you know, it's going to involve a capital campaign amongst our congregation to help raise money for this. That goes without saying. And if this gets approved today, that's definitely in the cards in the near future. Otherwise, you know, to keep the ball rolling, it's going to take financing through the ELCA has, I can't think of it right now. It's the ELCA. Yes, the Mission Investment Fund is an option. It takes a while for approval, but I did talk to Ms. Kent Peterson, who's involved with that, and he is willing, well, upon approval, we can go pursue that way to finance that other piece. So if we put the down payment down, we can then, you know, do a capital campaign and take a loan out for the remainder, or we can take a loan out for the remainder and then do a capital campaign and pay that loan off sooner than later. So there's that piece. We could also, you know, do third-party financing from a local bank and have that local element to it, and maybe there's going to be better ways to, or better reasons to do it that way.
I think long story short, and Keith was pretty instrumental just on walking the church council through this. Long story short, we're going to have some sort of third-party financing, and hopefully Karen and probably Marcy and maybe even Keith will be involved in it. You know, we're going to have to get some sort of third-party financing to get started, to continue to move forward. Just like when you're building a house, is a great point of reference. You take a loan out for it, and you don't take all of the lump sum at once. You can continue to work off from the loan. And maybe I could request for Keith to come up and explain that piece, but we'll field those in the questions part of this approval. Long story short, third-party financing is going to be a part of it, and the congregation to have a capital campaign is going to be fully necessary. So we have a plan. We've already talked about that as church council. We have a few different ideas of how to move that forward. We need this approval before we can get started on putting that all in motion. So cart before the horse, right? Not a good idea. What else was the last couple topics? We might have covered them all already. Gotta read my chicken scratch here. Sorry, folks. That's it. Yeah.
We can open the floor now for discussion, please.
And I'm going to answer the question. I'll repeat them, and Dan can answer them.
I'll try to recognize the person if I don't know your name. Yes, Dwayne. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the motion.
Second the motion.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. This is discussion of the motion. Are there any questions about what?
Some questions
Paul
over
and
here. I
Dan
seen
said.
some hands earlier. The question is a couple facets here. Is there a warranty on the shingles and the service? And what kind of shingles we are using? And what is the cost per foot of shingle? Got all those right off the top of your head?
No, I don't. I am just running off the number of what the square footage of this building is and the number that he's quoted here. These certainteed are the ones that he, so the bid that I had two quotes, or two numbers. The 124,000 is based off these certainteed shingles. The other one was $127,000 for these Atlas shingles. And that he, basically they're a very similar number, and both of them are top quality from what I'm being told, or what I understand. And he kind of leaned us toward the certainteed because the manufacturer has a 30-year warranty on that. So.
That answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Gail?
The layer under the shingles, you mean? So your question is they're gonna start from fresh. They're gonna tear the old shingles off, and will they put ice and snow under the shingles? I don't understand the question. Do you understand that a little bit?
The underlayment for the whole roof. So the flashings and all the valleys, he was saying that he was going to go up another 3 feet from what they currently estimated them to be because of the water damage that we'd seen. So when we pinpointed where the leaks were coming from, we kind of had an idea of what the flashings might be currently, and he said he was going to go up another 4 feet. As far as going all the way up with the underlayment, I guess I can't answer that question right now. Right, right. Absolutely, I'd be,
The contractor should go cover the whole roof with, if not the ice and snow shield, tar paper. Correct? No? Okay.
Right. Chuck Rowland, can you speak to that? So Chuck, what your thoughts are is they go up, just say 4 or 5 feet past the overhang, with the snow and ice, which is I think what you were referencing and we've discussed, going that far up, and then the rest of it will be standard procedure, which I will double check to make sure that was itemized in the bid as well. So, does that answer your question, Gail? Was that you, Rich, that said that? Rich said there's no ventilation in the roof. The other east and west wing have attic space. From what Chuck Meeks has said, I believe, that's was my understanding. And the MCC does as well. That's vented, correct.
For those of you online, the question, I believe, is the roof breathing or breathable? And I believe, Rich, it's not, because it goes right up to the top. The church is not, but the MCC is. We got to try to make sure that we get the questions so the online folks can hear it too. Any other questions? Yes.
The question is the color. Dan and I are not very beauty savvy people, as you can tell, so I don't even know if we've asked that question, to be honest with you. I can follow back up with you. If it's an important thing, we can probably.
The roofer did. Absolutely.
Consult before we choose a color. We will most definitely do that.
Absolutely. The roofer did say we can explore new color options if we want to update the look of the building.
Yes, there's another question.
Another question in the back? The question is how much more is a steel roof? We did not want to explore that option because I have comparisons in just in the industry that we work in that I've looked at before, and it's not worth it in my opinion.
Another thing adding to that is I was told that when you have a big roof such as this building, that in the summer months it swells and contracts, and the bigger the building, the more that is going to swell and contract, and that's not a good idea for this.
Rich, question? Right, to Dan's point, Rich is just confirming that the MCC is way too long for a span of steel. That's why it wasn't an option there. This one, I think, was not an option because we chose not to. Sure.
Any other questions? Yes.
So the soffit is in good shape, and that is not included on this quote. He did verbally tell me, and I should have added that to this. It's not going to add more to the total number, but he did tell me that he couldn't do gutters for about another $5,000. We have the option. Luciano had a preference at one point, and so he did not include it in this bid, but we still have the option to include that. And I don't think that's going to add to the 175 because this is still shooting very high.
This is the cost of, the question is the cost of the tear off included? And yes, it is. Yep. And haul away of all the debris and everything. Everything is included. The question is, you know, who do we, when, at what point in time do we find out how we're going to finance it for the term? It will depend probably on how quickly we can accomplish that. I know that the ELCA funding is a pretty drawn-out process from my understanding. They want to audit every little piece of what is happening, which is fine. We will do that. We're not hiding anything, obviously, so. It'll probably depend on cost of the loan over the life of the loan, rates, whoever's, you know, obviously whoever's got a really nice appealing rate, and how quickly we can accomplish it, and we need to have that done before certain deadlines that we have to meet. Unless everybody has an extra, $1,500 in their pocket today, maybe that would make this a lot easier. Everybody, actually. Gail's pointing to
Gail is
himself.
pointing.
No, let's keep going. I want to keep asking questions. so
Yep.
we can
Any
move
other
forward.
questions on this project? All right, seeing none.
I'm curious, John. I'll use the mic. Karen, this question is for you. I mean, these guys have looked at options for financing and say we're going to have a capital campaign. Is there any option into our endowment and other existing monies that are available to us to soften some of the blow here? Speak to us, Karen, keeper of the money.
And if she can't, we've talked about this at council, and Marcy might be able to speak to it better, but she loves typing so much that we'll keep her right there. So why don't I try to field this if we can for now?
I lowered it for Karen.
This is fine. They can hear me just fine. So
Pastor Mike texted me and said, speak into the microphone.
I'm not perfect with everybody's first and last names yet, but we have explored the option of loaning ourselves money with our own money. So we have this endowment fund that we're made aware of, and we entertained the idea of why can't we borrow against the endowment and then pay it back as we continue this maybe 1, 2, or 3 year capital requests from everybody. It's not going to probably happen over the next 8 months. So Marcy approached James Getska. Sorry, James. And we're in communication with him because he is in charge of the endowment fund right now. And that is an option. We just, like I said, after we get the approval here, we'll be able to move forward with all of those options and explore them. And then we can relay those back to the congregation as far as where our recommendation is to go with that. Good enough, Karen? Did I save you some public speaking because I know how much you love it?
The other problem with that, Jeff, is the endowment funds is invested in the stock market. And if anybody's looked at the stock market lately, it's not doing well. So that would probably not be the best choice at this point in time.
Yeah. Depends on who you ask.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing no further questions, we will vote for the motion. Restate the motion. Please. Can you say in front of the microphone?
The motion was made to approve the expenditure of $175,000 to repair and replace the roofs of the church and the MCC.
Up to $175,000.
Okay?
Correct.
Because there's more coming, more needs, of course.
A lot.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, everyone. And especially thank you, Dan and Paul, for all the diligence and very, very hard work on this project.
So Dan and I do want to thank everybody for the support that's been shown already. We really appreciate that, and continue to come up to us with your ideas and thoughts, and color schemes even would be great. So we both appreciate it on behalf of both of us. So thanks.
I mean, these guys are relatively new members of the church, and my opinion, they were kind of thrown to the wolves with this project because it's a daunting project.
Not
so.
kind of, we were.
I need a motion. I got a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Abby, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And
Let's
we'll have
close
a
with
benediction.
let's close with the benediction. Please stand and receive the blessing. May the Lord always bless you and keep you. May he let his face shine upon you. May the Lord always walk beside you. May the Lord always bless you and keep you. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Go in peace. Love and serve the Lord. Thanks be to God. Have a great